All right, hello everyone, welcome back. It's that time in the week. It's time for some more PSGL. Today it's PlayStation's Formula 7, and as you can see, we're sadly not able to get the PSGL YouTube channel working. There's been a problem with that for multiple people, so instead we'll be streaming here on my channel. But welcome to the Miami circuit, one of the brand new circuits for this Formula 1 game. As always, I'm joined by Storm for this round 2 of the Season 31 Championship. How are you doing, Storm?
Yeah, well, better I am now this evening now the weather has calmed down a little bit with the heat again. But it's, yeah, Miami, new track here this evening. And thank God it's Miami and not the new upcoming tracks that maybe Portimao and China, because I know from myself I hate the tracks with a passion. I don't know about you with the Miami track. Obviously, I've only had a few laps on it. I haven't actually league raced on it yet, but from TT time trials, I know it can be a bit of a pain for some of the drivers, especially for invalidation of laps.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be very tricky for a lot of people, for me too, because I think something a lot of drivers struggle with around this track is the traction. There's so many tricky traction zones, especially in the first sector, the exit of turn 3, and then coming out of the Mickey Mouse section in the third sector as well. There's a lot of hard turns on this track, but I guess they're there to test the drivers. But looking at the session now, we already have a couple of drivers setting lap times. LFR Ian, the man who won last time out in a Austrian Grand Prix where all 5 tire compounds were used. And right behind him, 5 tenths behind, is Kart Racer, who's DNF'd from the session. That looks like a spin in the middle sector, or the first sector. For some reason, the sector line's not showing up on the minimap. But I think that is in the first sector. He is DNF'd from the session, and that 27.5 is going to be his time for the rest of the session. But LFR setting a very fast time there at 27 flat. He's 5 tenths clear of Kart Racer and Bruno, but plenty of people yet to set their lap times. We're going to try and find a driver to ride on board with, and it looks like IRT Indigo and Bajavi both on their outlap. I think they were both in F9 last season. I do remember commentating on them, but it looks like Bugatti is coming to the end of his lap time now, and he is on the softs, as is everyone else with the 4 soft compound tires that you have in the qualifying session. Although it looks like he's coming into the pit lane. I think quite a few people have already set their lap times, but I think the next person that is going to do so is Bajavi down in P14, because he has not set a lap yet. So we are going to ride on board with the Alpine driver for an entire lap of this brand new circuit and see how it is done by one of our F7 drivers. You can see trying to get the heat into the tires. It's crucial to get them into the right operating window temperature wise. Otherwise, you could be losing a lot of grip. As you can see here, going very wide on the entry of the final turn to give himself the best exit possible to begin his lap time here now. So we are now on the run down into turn 1. Let's see how he takes his braking early so he can hit that apex and get the car turned in quite nicely. You can see on the exit of turn 3, riding that curb, very easy to spin that car at that part of the track. But we now come into turn 5 and 6 and 7, and it looks like he's just gone a little bit too deep there into turn 6. That has caused an invalidation, and he is now going to have to go again. IRT Indigo is right behind him though, and he is coming through the same turns. It looks like he's struggling at the exact same turn. That's turn 6 if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like a spin for IRT Indigo, so that's going to be the end of his lap time too. But it looks like Miguel is currently on a lap in his Aston Martin. Can we hopefully get a full lap time here so we can see the entire Miami circuit? We'll have to see, does he get it right as we come into turn 5 and 6 for the third time. But it looks like managing to get that quite nicely. and using plenty of the curves. A bit of a tighter line into that long turn 7 or 8, I'm not too sure, but it looks like he's got on the power a bit too early, and he has broken his front wing, and that's caused him to abandon his lap. So in the opening stage of this qualifying session, it looks like a lot of drivers struggling around this track. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think because obviously, not many people have league raced on this track, so they're not used to the braking points, what part of the corners they need to be turning, especially that really difficult corner or hairpin, whatever you want to call it, which I believe Miguel is coming through now, which, you've kind of got to judge if you're going to go on the curb, ride the curb, or you're literally going to try and avoid them. And I do apologize. Oh, as Trust gets a 5th-place grid penalty, that's going to hurt him quite bad if he is quite far down the grid. At the moment, he is currently P6, so that would drop him outside the top 10, as Miguel is going to make to the pit lane, and he will probably go on for another set of softs. The pit lane's entry, I've just noticed, is quite interesting. It reminds me of the Baku pit entry, but yeah, no, it's definitely one that I think drivers are probably less comfortable, I think, because not many have done league races here. They've only done TT laps or for leagues where they've had to do evaluation. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Bugatti can make it 2 poles in 2 weeks. So I do apologise if it sounds like I have a cold. It's I think my hay fever has triggered, or something has triggered my nose that it wants to sneeze, but nothing has unfortunately happened at the moment.
Yeah, and as you're talking about that, LFR Ian, who's fast straight out of the gates, he's 5 tenths ahead of the rest of the grid, currently on a lap time as well. He was pretty fast out of the first sector, and he's pretty fast out of the second, 3.5 tenths up on his lap time, and he could be dipping into the 26s here and really solidifying the lead that he has this far. And let's see, coming into the final turn, it's a big lockup into there, and that's going to cost him a lot of rotation, but he was able to get it quite nicely in the end and managed a decent exit. Only improves by 2 tenths after being 3 tenths up in the middle sector, but that is obviously going to solidify his provisional pole position that he already had. He's now set a 1 minute 26.8 and is now 7 tenths ahead of the rest of the grid. It looks like the man in third and so far challenging for pole position is also currently on a lap time. He's 1 tenth up on his first sector split, but I think the place where people struggle the most is this second half of the lap. It's very hard to get this slow speed section right, but let's see if Bruno can get it right on this particular occasion. As you can see, going through here and coming into this very slow Mickey Mouse section which a lot of drivers really don't like because of how slow and tedious it is, but managing to get that quite decent. He got a good exit out of there as well. He's 4.5 tenths up on his time, and looks like it's going to be a projected 1:27.1, but can he improve any further? We'll have to see as he now comes into the final 3 turns here of turn 17, 18 and 19. Doesn't look like the best exit there out of turn 18, but really riding that curb on turn 19 and manages to improve by 3 tenths. So I think there's definitely some time in that final sector, but so far he is 3 tenths off of our provisional pole man, who is LFR Ian. Let's see if anyone else can beat LFR Ian or Bruno. It looks like Trust Vipex is just about to start his lap, and Storm, would you like to take us through it?
Yeah, if I can find him on the grid.
P6.
There we go. I've got him. My game just didn't want to work. So he goes through turns 1 and 2, which will be through sector 1, as he will be. I'm trying to remember what the corner numbers are now. Oh, did he just clip the wall? I think he might have not done any wing damage as he comes through turn 6 and then 7. That's a really long sweeping kind of I think, is it a left or right-hander? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, Imel makes his way down through the really long straight with the DRS, and he is now going to come to the heavy braking zone. You kind of want to see the drivers taking a little bit over the white line, not too much because they don't want to track limits warning, as he now comes up to the very, very sharp kind of corner, if you want to call it a corner. And now he will make his way down the final stretch here this evening, and it is going to be all the way in 8th gear, nearly 210 miles an hour, and that is one faster F1 McLaren car as he now makes his way around the final 2 corners. And what time is he going to set? He's going to get a 5-place grid penalty, but it is P3 for the moment for the McLaren team. As we've got I nearly got the 2 muddled up then, but yeah, Trust Vilts, is that, or I'm really going to struggle to pronounce the names, in P3.
Yeah, and that's a decent lap from him. 6/10 off a provisional pole, but that still puts him P3, so that just shows how fast LFRE is. Yagi, who was looking good in qualifying last time out, didn't do too well in the race, but he's currently starting his lap, and you can see they're struggling at turn 2, got up on the curb, and really unsettles the car if you try to ride that turn 2 curve, and that caused him to have a half spin, and it was enough to abandon his lap time, currently on a 27.6, so he's going to be hoping to set a better lap time later on in this session. Currently looking for someone who's about to start their lap. It looks like Laganga in the Alpine is now starting his lap time, and it looks like his first lap time of the session. His only lap so far is a 37.8, which obviously isn't representative there, but as you can see, going into turn 1, he snagged one of the rear brakes. That caused him to spin, and so far in the session hasn't got a lap. There's only 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and it looks like lots of drivers don't have laps. The Ganga, Bajavi, Miguel, Miku and Indigo all don't have lap times. Ecos Hilly, Bajavi and Kart Racer have all DNF from the session, so you can see how much everyone is struggling. But LFREN has obviously put a lot of work into this track, and you can see it's really paying off. And I think putting a lot of work into this track would definitely pay off, because I think almost every league at this point is using this brand new circuit on their calendar, and to be competitive in a place where people are new to, it's really going to help you out, not only in qualifying but hopefully the race. But it looks like NFR Ollie Olaf is currently on an out lap and getting ready to start what will be probably his final lap time of the session. There's not long left to go in this session, and like I said before, not a lot of drivers with lap time, so it's really crucial that these drivers get their important laps in now while there's still time left in this session. So well, who would you like to ride on board with, as we're only probably going to be able to ride on board with one person for this final lap?
Yeah, I think might be Yagazan, I think, because he is, well, he's actually coming to the end of the lap, unfortunately, but he could take pole position. And it's quite interesting to see from one race to another that people that were in the bottom half of the qualifying grid in Austria, like Ian, like Indigo, Yagazan, have really, like, you know, popped up this week and kind of, you know, brought on the success from the Austrian race that they had, where Ian was on the top 3, and Yagazan puts up to P3. Where is the other Trust driver going to go? I didn't realise there was 2 until I double checked, and that is him up to P3. So that moves Yagazan down into P4. FOD Graphics is in the Williams, and he, I believe, is into the pits. He is into the pits for the Williams. Bugatti, he got pole in Austria. Can he make a last move for pole? He's not going to get it, I don't think. He's not, but he is going to go for another lap. So last week's pole sit, I think, will go on board with Bugatti, as he didn't get a chance last week to do the race from pole. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on and see if he can get the pole from Ian.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing quite a bit of support for Wame in the chat, so we may as well ride on board with him for his final lap of the session. Coming out of the middle sector, he's currently 4 tenths up on his lap time, projected 27.5, which would put him P6 in this session. Let's see if he can improve any more in this final part of the circuit, as just 3 more turns to go, but this very tricky turn 17, very easy to lock up, and Wame has done just that. But turn 18 and 19, very tricky traction zone going into turn 18. But then across the line, it's 127.5. That puts him P6 in this session. So a good lap from him puts him in a decent position. LFR Ian coming to the end of his lap time, if I'm not mistaken. Although he's weaving quite a bit on the straight. I don't know. No, I think he's actually turned off the ERS, so he's not on a lap time. He's not going to be setting a lap in this final part of the session, and neither will Bruno, so they've both decided to abandon their laps. I'm not too sure why that is. It looks like Trust may be on a lap. No, he's not. He's been on a lap for 1 minute and 51 seconds, so he's not on a lap. Yagi is coming into the pit lane. Looks like Trust Vipex might be on a lap. It's invalidated though, so I think everyone's qualifying session is now over, and LFR Ian, he won the last Grand Prix at the Austrian Grand Prix, and he's now going to take pole position by over 3 tenths of a second, almost 4 tenths, to Bruno behind him. So that's a great performance from Ian, and he won't be starting at the back this time, so maybe he'll be able to get a win 2 weeks running, but it'll be interesting to see. We have Bruno in P2. Didn't see much of him last week. I think he may be reserved, not 100% on that. Trust Seeknix or something is in P3 for McLaren with his teammate Trust Vipex in P5. So McLaren having a good day out. Yagi in P4. He's had a decent qualifying once again. Hopefully he can convert that to a good race result, as it looks like Trust Seeknix, I really don't know how to pronounce that name, but has actually disconnected from the session, so that might be a worry. But yeah, who do you think could be a good shout for this race win, looking at that qualifying order?
Yeah, I think obviously I would have said the two McLarens. Really good position for them both, but obviously one has now left the session. I think Connection and has got a 5-place grid penalty, so he's going to start P10. So that moves Indigo and above up 1 place. So that'll be crucial. I think so. Yeah, it's definitely a varied top 10 from last week, as Ian takes pole position with a 26.8. Then 3 tenths behind is Bruno. In P3 is Trust Synex. I think that's how you pronounce it. P4 is TF Yagazan. P5 Trust Vilpex. P6 is Woman, and we'll try and read the rest through qualifying. Through the formation lap, should I say, here in Miami. I nearly had to think then. But yeah, it'll also be interesting to see what weather we got, because I think, personally, them lap times may have been quicker a little bit if drivers could have got their runs in, I think, without the spin. So it'll be really interesting to see what the weather is. If it's rain, yeah, it could get very spicy, and we could not be finishing with a top 10.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there, as I think I've seen quite a few times that it has actually been raining in Miami. So it'll be interesting to see. But actually, yes, I've just remembered the coordinator of F7, Bugatti, actually said that we would be doing a lobby restart to avoid any audio glitches or any other glitches that could come with that. So we'll be restarting the lobby and getting us in to another lobby where we'll have that custom grid and 50% race, and that is where the Grand Prix will take place. But yeah, a couple of people in the chat there telling us how they did. I think IRT Indigo was just saying there that he was really struggling to get that lap in, spun a few times, and was able to get that lap in, but made quite a few mistakes on it. So he said he'll take P10, which is a decent position. Well, it'd actually be P9 after Trust Vipek's 5 place grid penalty. So he'll be starting P9 in this race. We'll have to see what he can do from there. If I'm not mistaken, a podium last time out. I think it was P3, was it?
Ian, yeah, it was Ian, Yagazan, and yeah, Indigo. And before we before we get into the lobby, just lobby, should I say? Just to spice up your appetite for this evening of racing, there is chance of rain this evening. A little sprinkle, 28% chance of rain that will be in the race. So hopefully it doesn't cause too much issue. But yeah, a little sprinkle of rain maybe for a few laps may just tempt some of the drivers to the intermediate tyres. I don't think we'll be seeing the wets. It's not too much rain for that, but we may just see the intermediates being used by some of the drivers.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm not even sure if, with making this custom lobby, obviously you have to do all of the qualifying positions and you have to do the weather conditions all over again. Hopefully, someone wrote them down and can give
Yeah,
them
they
to
have in the chat.
Bugatti. But
Yeah, it's all in the chat.
yeah, coming into this, I really don't know what to say. Sorry, I'm trying to find out who was actually on that podium because it's got me curious now to make sure
Yeah.
if we're both right.
So So just for the weather, the first 15 minutes of the race will be overcast. Then 30 minutes in, we will have some light rain, and then we'll be back for the final 15 minutes. The end of the race will be overcast to light cloud. So yeah, it's going to be a bit dark and gloomy.
Yeah, so that's actually going to be very interesting to see those
Yeah.
intermediates come out and with drivers already struggling in the dry conditions. I think it's only going to get worse for them in the wet. But just confirming the podium that I so badly wanted to know, it was actually Ian in P1 who won that race, Clark in P2, and IRT Indigo was able to get that third spot on the podium. But yeah, hopefully the race will be getting underway soon. And we're seeing quite a bit of support for Wama in the chat here, so maybe he'll be one to watch in this upcoming race, but only time will tell. And yeah, I guess we're just going to wait for the lobby to begin.
Yeah, and I think the weather kind of brings us back to Austria, the dry, the wet, then the dry again, because that's what we had kind of in Austria. Obviously, we won't be going to, I think, the extreme of the full wets, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people negotiate this track with the intermediate tyres, because I haven't seen Miami with the rain. I don't know if obviously yourself has seen it, but it just for me it screams out at me that it's not fun doing it as a wet track. It must be painful, especially for the drivers doing no ABS or no assists. It must be absolute painful to be doing a wet Miami. Even the other track in America, Cota, the Circuit of Americas, that's painful to do in the wet as well. So I can feel a little bit for the drivers this evening to hear that there's going to be rain again this week. It would be nice if we had a full dry week. Obviously, of course, rain does spice it up just a little bit. The problem you've also got is the rain going to be enough to bring out the inters, or is it just going to be enough to damp the track and keep maybe a medium or a hard compound tyre on? So that's going to be, something to see between obviously the 17, 18 drivers that we have. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, I think, to see what strategy each driver goes with, knowing now what the weather is.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why this track is so difficult in that aspect is because the traction on this track is super, super difficult in all sectors, pretty much, and also lockups into that turn 17, that final hairpin of the track, and also turn 1 as well. There's a lot of difficult turns for traction and lockups. And obviously, with this being a no assist here, all of these drivers will be having to deal with that. But yeah, and I hope everyone remembers to put on their setups because even when there is a qualifying session beforehand, some drivers forget to put on their setup. So if you're watching this stream and you're in this race, be sure to put it on. But I think the race should be starting soon. Hopefully, the track gets changed from Bahrain to Miami, as we wouldn't want to be racing all the way in Bahrain. That would be a long flight to get there.
I'm just telling Bugatti now. But if it was Bahrain in the wet, that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely in such humid circuit. Sorry.
I'll just message him on PS. Don't think he's looking at Discord. So everyone's like literally spamming him.
Yeah, there's a bit of chaos going on there.
He might be doing the grid. It is annoying also when you have to restart because you kind of lose that flow of what you was talking about, and drivers kind of get you because obviously we both of us are league racers as well. We do race as well. Once the qualifying's finished, you want to get into the race. You kind of want to if you've had a good qualifying, you want to carry on that momentum. But now the drivers are having to wait. It's that kind of, oh, I've got to sit here and wait. The nerves start maybe kicking in. Can I still win this race? It can be quite daunting for some of the drivers.
Yeah, and I think losing that edge after, doing practice and then hopping straight from practice to the
Mm.
race, or at least that's how I do it. Maybe some other drivers do their practice earlier on in the day. But, going from that racetrack to just sitting here looking at Discord and seeing everyone just waiting for the race to get underway because they want to keep their tires warm, I guess, want to make sure they're out on track and doing all of their running in the one session because in this time obviously it's not very likely, but they might be slightly forgetting their traction points, their braking points, all of that, and they need to keep that fresh in the mind. So for their sakes, hopefully it gets underway. And once again, Wama's big fan base in the chat thinking that Wama has no nerves, so I think he's definitely a big shout for that race win. No nerves for that driver, he's just cool all the time. But it looks like the drivers
Yeah.
have now readied up, so we're getting underway.
Yeah, and I think Bruno is a reserve because we are actually missing Alex the G for 2-3 weeks. Because obviously I think he's gone on holiday because obviously it is coming round to that nice, beautiful, sunny sky and warm weather. So yeah, I think he's on vacation for 2 to 3 weeks. So he will miss this race, next race, and I think he may miss the next one, but he may be back. But hopefully we get to see him because he is a good racer, and I think he is an all-round driver that I think would potentially push maybe a top five as we saw in Austria. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully we don't get some of the driving standards that we got in Austria, and everyone keeps it clean because there were a few naughty moments that we saw on commentary. But we're not stewards. We leave that to the wonderful PSGL stewards, which is obviously head up by, I believe it is it Krypton? Is it Krypton? I can't remember who it is now. So, they do a fantastic job over there. So we just focus on the action that's actually on the track.
Yeah, and after the long wait, I think we're finally almost ready to get underway for this Grand Prix. The drivers getting their setups on, getting their strategies right, and a big thing with that new patch that came I think it was a week or two ago, is that the tire temperatures are a lot higher in the race, so the drivers will need to adjust their setups accordingly, making sure they turn down the tire pressures. And a lobby restart like this could really help out some people, maybe allow them to make adjustments that they wouldn't have been able to before because of Park Ferme, maybe make their setups a little more stable, but we'll have to see as we are now ready for this race. You can see Trust Vipex, who qualified P5, sadly down in P10, and usually those 5-place group penalties are a bit unfair in those qualifying sessions, but it is what it is, and we'll have to see what he can do from that qualifying position. But for this race, is there anyone who stands out to you as could be getting a good performance in?
Now, I've only just looked at the tyres. Everybody, except from LFR K3 Pa, or if that's how you want to pronounce it, I'm not quite sure. Everybody's on the hards except from him. Now, that's bold. If you know rain's coming, automatically, wouldn't you want to go for a tyre that is going to last and maybe suck up a little bit of the wet rain that comes down? So yeah, that's a bold, interesting choice to go for. So I think we might have to keep an eye on him. Also, I think the likes of Indigo, Olaf, Thod Graphics, Hilly, Bugatti. There's so many. Oh, McLaren's gone for a spin under the safe. With the we've had a desync with one of the drivers, which is Hilly, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, I think, especially for the front runners, especially when they come in. When do they come in? But I'll hand you over to more games, and he'll take you through what will be the race start here in PSGL F7 for round number 2, season 31 for the Miami Grand Prix.
And on that formation lap, it looks like Trust in the McLaren, not Vipex, the man in P3, was struggling quite a bit there on the formation lap. Went all the way from P3 down to about P12, but thankfully he has a magical power called ghosting, and that's going to get him right back up to P3, although he messes up his grid slot, so he'll be starting a few meters back for this race start. But LFR Ian is your pole man, and we have 5 red lights. They're gone and we're away. What kind of start is it for our poleman, LFR Ian? And it looks like he's covered off Bruno quite nicely coming into turn 1. He's maintained the lead there. It looks like Trust losing out to Yagi on that race start. So Yagi moves up to P3 with Trust losing that position of the start. Kart Racer able to get ahead of Wome, but he's now fighting side by side with the McLaren, if I'm not mistaken, there on the back of Trust, who's not had the best of starts. And he looks to the inside for the double left-hander of turn 7 and 8. Can he pull that move off? As it looks like Trust, with the more flowing line, is going to have that better exit, and he's able to at least maintain P4 for now, but sadly losing out that position to Yagi, who moves up into P3. Wame losing a position of the start, and he's now battling side by side with Miguel into this middle sector, and Miguel shown the long way round, but that turns to the inside line for the next right-hander. It's the outside and then inside, but Wama is able to shut the door there coming into the Mickey Mouse section, and that is going to give Wama P6, but he's 1.2 seconds behind Kart Racer and the rest of the top 5, so he isn't going to have DRS if he keeps up like this. Hopefully he can get back in that gap within lap 3, but it looks like Kart Racer is now going down the inside of Trust into turn 17, and he's able to get that move done, so he moves up into P4. It's not been a good start for Trust, who moves down from P3 to P5, and he'll be looking to gain positions back, hopefully on this second lap of the race. But so far, LFR Ian has built a 1.6 second gap to Bruno behind, and after pretty much dominating qualifying, we could see him dominating the race as well. Elifar Kepa, who started on those mediums, going for a bold strategy, and so far has not worked out for him. He spawned all the way from P7 to P11, if I'm not mistaken. So in this early stage, it's quite surprising. His medium's not working out. That's FVR Bajavi, who's had a spin there. Could have been contact with Ecos Hilly, because he's also gone off at turn 7. And the virtual safety car has now been deployed. So, wow, what do you think of that race start?
Chaotic. That if you want to put it that one word, I think Ecos Hilly is not showing for the drivers, so they don't know where he is because, as we saw in the PS chat, people were saying he had the red X above his name and he's not ghosted, which obviously he isn't ghosted on our screen. So I know he's Dutch, so obviously he would be on a European server. So I don't know what has happened there. The other big loss was Thod Graphics. He has dropped a few positions. I will just double check the position changes. So Thod has lost 4 as DRS is enabled. They're back under racing. Trust has lost 4. As you mentioned, one of the LFR drivers in the Mercedes has lost also 4 positions. The biggest gainer is Laganga, up 5 places. And obviously Yagazan. Oh, as I say that, Warman has got up a position, I believe, as somebody has had a spin, and that is Trust Vilpex, I believe it is. Nope, it's not. Or, which one is it?
I think it's Trust Sinkex in P15.
Yeah, I think it is. As he has now dropped a whopping 12 places. I don't know who caused it, but it now promotes Warman up to P5, Miguel up to P6, who actually, as I say that, Indigo goes for a move and gets himself up to P6. But Miguel is going to fight that around the outside, I believe that is, and he is not going to get the move done. The 2 Aston Martins are working very well there, as they're doing better than the ones in real life, I have to say.
But as we saw that, I think I just caught a glimpse of that spin from Trust. I think it was getting a bit too early on the power out of turn 3. As we're talking about that, Kart Racer moves up yet another position, getting 3 positions off the race start. He's now into the podium positions in his Alfa Romeo, and he's going to be looking to catch up to Bruno. Elifar Ian pretty much dominating this race so far, setting fast lap after fastest lap and building that gap to Bruno behind. It looks like Miguel and IRT Indigo are going to go at it again. Miguel down the inside into turn 1. He touches that sausage curb on the inside. That sends him understeering right into the side of IRT Indigo. I don't think that's any wing damage on his left front end plate, but it looks like he's going to maybe lose position till Laganga has the outside line for turn 5 and manages to get the job done by turn 6. So Laganga up 8 positions, and he has had an absolutely flying start, moving from P15 to P7 in this race, and I don't think he could really ask much more of his race start. It looks like Bugatti has had a spin there in the first sector, and he has now fallen all the way down to P13. So it's not been a good race start for him or Trust. That's another spin. That's the Ganga who we were just talking about. He's made contact with Miguel, and I think he was looking for a move, and they have both spun now. They're down in P10 and P13. Miguel came off a little worse there and is now in a bit of traffic with Bugatti and Tall Graphics between the 2 drivers. But that must have been contact between those 2. But that now moves Miku into P8, and he is now the biggest gainer on lap 4. But he's being dived down the inside by Ollie Olaf. He tries to go for a switchback move on the exit of turn 17. Olaf has the inside line for this final turn, and it looks like with the power of the DRS, he is able to get that move done on Miku, move himself up into P8. But Kart Racer just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so he's pushing on and trying to catch up to Bruno, but it looks like that is a spin there in the first sector for Laganga, and I think he might have just gotten on the power a bit too early, possibly could have made contact with someone, I'm not sure. I'm trying to keep up with the action of all the drivers, but he is now out of this race. Both Alpine drivers DNFing within the first 5 laps, and that is not what you want to see. It looks like Wama going for the move on Yagi. Yagi tries to go for the switchback and tries to go for a double switchback, but that is not going to work out. Wama with a tight line to the wall on that last right-hander. He is able to get up into P4 now, and that is a position gain for the Ferrari, but that's a bit of wheel spin there coming out of that turn 16, but looks like it was good enough to maintain his position over Yagi. So yeah, a lot of chaos there going on in the bottom half of the grid.
Yeah, a lot of action happening in around the back of the pack, as I believe somebody, yeah, as I was saying that Olaf is getting past the medium runner of LFR K3 Path 5. As I say that, he's going to come back at him, and they're going to battle that into turn 1. Little bit of a battle there, as also Miku has joined that battle. So kind of a battle here for P7, kind of around the midfield area, as everyone in front has kind of, got their own little 3 or 4 second gap now, as Miku is as the LFR driver has gone a little bit onto the curb and is now in a prone position of getting attacked by the Hash driver as he goes for a move, and I think the DRS is going to help him. Is he going to go for the move? He's literally right on the diffuser of the car. But the problem is, as I've just noticed, the LFR driver in the Mercedes has DRS. He hasn't got it now, so it looks like the Hash driver is going to go around the outside. Doesn't get it this time, but he's now going to go through the very sharp hairpin or corner, whichever you want to call it, as he is now going to come around the final corner into the straight, and they're going to try and get a move done here, as I believe Olaf is going to have to defend from the LFR driver as they come down the straight, and that is some heavy braking there from as I don't know if you see the same as I do, more little bit of rain on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just riding on board now with Olaf, but I can definitely see the raindrops on this driver T-Pod cam. So the rain is now hitting, and it looks like Kepa definitely chose the right tires to be on. The only problem is he wasn't able to make the most of them. He's down in P8, losing a position off of the start even, so wasn't able to make the most of those medium tires, but he now doesn't have to box again. He can go straight onto the inters. He's very wide though into turn 8, and it looks like Miku is going to take that opportunity to get past on this DRS straight, even before DRS wasn't able to. So he moves himself up into P8. That is a spin in the background there for Trust. He is now down in P15. He has a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Eco City. I'm not too sure what's gone on there between the two drivers, but Trust has gone from qualifying in P3, and he's now all the way down at the very back of the grid in P15. So that is definitely a shame to see. The rain is now definitely starting to pick up, but as it is, so is the battle for P7. Miku on the back of Olaf, and he has the power of the DRS over Olaf, so he's going to have that small advantage on the straights, but I think with this game the DRS is a lot weaker. That is another spin for Trust, and he now retires from the session. Kepa into the pit lane, and that is for the intermediate compound of tires. This could be strategical genius from him. No, it's not, because he's come in for a front wing change and decided to put on the inters while he was there, so must have made contact with the back of Miku. And that now means he's actually retired from the session. What's going on? There's a safety car, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the full course safety car is out. Kepa has retired from the session for some reason. But I think most of the drivers will now be coming in for the intermediate compound of tyres. And this safety car could really change up this race.
Yeah, I think it will. And I don't know why he's retired. I think that may have been the reason why that safety car has been deployed. If it's sound-related issue, then I can completely understand. But yeah, that's a little bit suspicious. Why would you retire when you know you can probably still carry on? But yeah, safety car is out, lap 8 of 29, and I just can't see any drivers now really making overtakes, especially the nature of this track. On the intermediates, it's going to be a bit of a slug haul to kind of get round the track on these intermediates, I think.
Yeah, and I definitely have to agree with you there. We could see possibly even some top drivers who are in the top 5 spinning, but as we saw in Austria, LFR Ian really shined on the full wet tyres along with the inters too. But you can see everyone is now coming into pit lane. A couple of drivers are going to have to double stack. Miku is probably going to have to double stack behind Yagi. Hopefully Yagi will be out before he comes to the pit lane. Miguel is going to have to double stack behind his teammate Olaf. And I think those are hopefully the only 2 double stacks in the grid. So yeah, you can see Miguel really getting held up there in the pit lane. But every driver is now on the intermediate tyres as expected. You can see the track is definitely ready for those inters. So as you can see, no real position changes out of the pit lane apart from Miguel losing positions. Actually, I think Olaf might have lost the position to Miku. I'm really not sure. But yeah, this is now the grid order and will be for the safety car restart. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of getaway Ian can get. And now Bruno has got that gap down because of the safety car. Will he be able to possibly contend for this race win?
Yeah, just having a bit of a debate, I think, of who caused the safety car. There is a sound glitch for Yagazan and I think a few of the other drivers, and apparently it is quite bad. So I can really feel for the drivers if they are struggling, because it must be awful. Myself and yourself, as we know from racing on this new game, it is an absolute awful sound that we have to listen to. It sounds like a lawnmower sound. Well, on mine it does anyway. I don't know for yourself more, but yeah, it's horrendous. Hopefully a bug comes, well, bug fixed, should I say, comes tomorrow in the form of the large update that they're doing tomorrow to bring well, I would say new, but it's not, the Portimao track and hopefully the Chinese track. Why they're adding them 2 tracks, not a clue. But yeah, hopefully we may get the sound bug fixed.
Yeah, personally, I thankfully haven't had to deal with that in my time of playing. I think I've only done about 6 races, maybe 7 on this game, so thankfully don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think I did 1 and it was awful. Yeah, and that was Belgium I did, and yeah, it literally sounds like a really loud lawnmower that's going like constantly. It just sounds awful. And I do feel for the drivers, especially, you know, that the ones are competing in the higher leagues like PSGL, for instance, that, you know, want to do well. Oh, what's happened at the back? I just see a car nearly go into the wall, and I don't know if you just want to double check more. Everyone's front wing is still intact, just from P9. Because I can't see from my angle, because the game's giving me the worst camera angle. Just make sure everyone's wing is still there. It looks to be that they are. It might have been a McLaren that's gone in to the wall, which would be Trust Vilpex. No, his wing is fine. So yeah, don't know who went in the wall there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either, but I think all of the front wings are intact for the safety car restart, which should be on this lap now that everyone has caught up to the safety car, and that is race control calling in the safety car and getting ready for the safety car restart. We're going to ride on board with LFR Ian, and see what kind of getaway he can get on this safety car restart. On the inters, it's going to be very tricky as they've been running in dry conditions in qualifying and for the start of this race. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against all the other drivers. But now coming into the final couple of turns, he must be getting ready to get away soon. And he might be waiting to get on the straight so he can get the best traction possible, and that's exactly what he's done on the exit of turn 18. He's got on the power, and he's got the safety car restart going. That looks like IRT Indigo going for a move on Yagi into turn 1. He has the inside line, Yagi with the outside line, and it looks like Yagi was able to hold that position and maintains P5 for now, but IRT Indigo is right on the back of him and looking for a move. It doesn't look like any position changes so far. That might have been Tog Graphics overtaking Miku there, but so far no spinners. That's a good sign because with these wet conditions that they haven't had any experience in running in just yet. They've been able to keep it on track so far, but we are only half a lap through these wet conditions, so they'll be looking to push on. And it looks like Kart Racer is quite close to the back of Bruno now. And he'll be looking for a move for P2. IRT Indigo having a look down the inside into that right hairpin. He's now fully alongside on the outside, but Yagi is once again able to hold that position. So IRT Indigo just looking for any way past at this point. Sadly, has not found one yet. Wama has lost that 1 second gap to the top 3. Thankfully, doesn't matter as much as the DRS is now disabled. But it looks like the top 3 might be in a bit of their own fight in this race. But as you can see right now, there's a very close battle going on all the way from P4 down to P13. They're all within 1 second of each other and looking to make moves. Bugatti actually has a 3-second time penalty, if I'm not mistaken, though. So that's going to set him back quite a few positions. Hopefully he can push on, maybe break a gap to the drivers behind, but he's going to need some serious pace to be making gaps like that. Kart Racer is now looking for a move on Bruno around the outside at turn 4, and he makes the move around the outside at turn 4. That's a very good move there from Kart Racer, which now moves him up into P2, and he's going to be looking to chase down LFRE, who's already built a 2.1 second gap to the drivers behind. And you can see Kart Racer already trying to bring it down after just overtaking Bruno. So, yeah, what do you think of that restart?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit more of a calmer restart than I think we had last week in Austria. Ian really controlling the pace, not really kind of, worried about anything. And we saw last week in Austria, when the rain came, Ian was just in another league of his own. He literally controlled that race throughout the rain. Nobody, I don't think, could touch him. His gap was like 5-10 seconds, I think it was. And yeah, he was just in a league of his own. So for him to have a 2.3 gap on Carter Racer already, yeah, it just speaks volumes of the level of quality that he has throughout wet races.
Yeah, pulling a bit of a Yarno up here, being absolutely amazing in those wet conditions. And right now, Kart Racer does not have an answer. He is faster than Bruno, but he's a little slower than Lafarian. So I think as the race goes on, he'll be developing a bit of a no man's land. But as you can see there, that's a big snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 3. That's cost him a bit of time, but thankfully kept it pointing in the right direction. So the battle for P4 rages on, and Ollie Olaf is dipping in and out of this battle. As you can see right now, the gap is 1.2 seconds. You can see IRT Indio taking a bit of a tighter line into that double left of 7 and 8, which is really not what you want to be doing. I think a lot of the TT lines are taking a bit of a wire line, even going off of the track at one point, to get themselves the best possible exit out of that turn 8, which leads them onto that very long DRS straight. Looks like Trust Vipex trying to make the move on Bugatti around the outside at this right-hander. You can see struggling with the traction, but then with this inside line for the next left-hander, Bugatti thinks about trying to hold that position, but in the end, really not much you can do once the driver has that inside line going into the Mickey Mouse section of turn 14, 15, and 16. As you can see, no one really making much progress on the straights. That's because there is no DRS, and the only real tool they have to gain time on one another is the power of their overtake button. So it's going to be very crucial to try and manage that. You can see Wama has actually caught up to Bruno in these wet conditions, so Bruno may be struggling a bit more than he was in the dry, as I think Bruno actually built out a gap. That's Star Graphics, who's actually gone wide at turn 1, and that has dropped him all the way to the back of the grid. So you can see just one mistake, how much it can cost you, especially in these wet conditions. So he is now down in P13, and with the 3-second time penalty as well. So not the greatest race so far, but we've only just reached the halfway point. We are on lap 14 of 29, and it already feels like so much has happened, but that's just the feeling you get in this Formula 7 division. But yeah, right now, really not a lot of people making moves in these wet conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole boil down with this track, as we mentioned before. You know, you're not going to get, you know, overtakes. Always Yagazan makes a little bit of a mistake on the curb there, and that has let Indigo go for a move and get himself up to P4. The other flag shown for the back of the grid, but yeah, one simple mistake by Yagazan, and that is Indigo up into the top 5. Very crucial, because both of them were on the podium last week, and I'm sure they'll both be aiming for another podium, as Yagazan has got a penalty, so yeah, he's going to have to get past back Indigo and create that gap, which he's only going to have round about 14 laps now to do it in. So he's got plenty of time, but hopefully this rain does dry up a little bit more quicker, as Stod Graphics has retired in the pits. An early night for the Williams driver, and I'm sure he'll be a little bit disappointed that he could have done, or well, he could have done a little bit more better, I'm sure, and probably isn't his favourite track, but I'm sure he'll be back next week when we will be racing again. I'm not quite sure where we are next week. Hopefully we can find out from the calendar, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see this battle for now P5, P6 area, if Yagazan does fight back.
Yeah, and I think Yagi actually wasn't on the podium last week out. I think it was Clark who actually managed to get that podium. Sadly, he's not here this weekend. But Yagi, with that 3-second time penalty, that's already going to drop him to about P8, maybe P7, if he can break that gap to Miguel behind. But the two Aston Martin drivers have been pretty much inseparable for most of this race. But as you can see by the gaps right now, no one's really that close to each other. They're all just, you know, within 1.3 seconds, 1.1 seconds, but no one's really within that crucial 1 second. In the dry, it gives you DRS. In the wet, it gives you a bit of a reference to see, you know, are you close enough to be battling with this driver? Do you have the pace? And right now, it doesn't look like anyone really does. It looks like everyone is in the position they're meant to be, just slightly faster than the driver behind and slightly slower than the driver ahead. So this race balancing out quite nicely. And actually, moving back to that safety car restart, quite amazed that they were able to keep it so calm on that restart. No spins, and every driver keeping it pointing in the right direction. Sadly, that didn't last for long. Saw Graphics retiring from the session. Bugatti making another mistake, which dropped him down to P12. So Bugatti, he was on pole last week out, sadly got desync and had to retire from the session last week as well. But and now he's all the way down in P12. So he's been quite unlucky so far in this season. as you can see, the gaps are now starting to fall down just that little bit. Looks like Olaf has caught up to Yagi, who is now with 6 seconds of time penalties, really struggling with the track limits in these wet conditions. And those 6 seconds are now going to drop him all the way back to about P10 in this session. So he really needs to find some pace if he wants to get some good points out of this week's Grand Prix. Trust Vipex is also on the back of Miku. Had a little look down the inside into turn 17. Nothing really coming of it. But that is a spin there for Yagi on the exit of turn 18. And he's actually just decided to retire right there and then. He had 6 seconds of time penalties, and I think that was just enough to set him off. He had enough, and after that spin at turn 18, he's now out of this session.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I think will be disappointed in himself that he couldn't, kind of get a podium again this week. I know he's a talented driver. He's from Talent Factory Esports, Dutch guys. So he's definitely got the pace there. He's just got to kind of, refocus. And I'm sure we'll be seeing him up there fighting for the race win and podium next week. As no safety car has been deployed, which is good, as we want to keep the racing going as much as possible. The other Haas, which is Milku, he is battling with Trust Vilpex as they go through the tight hairpin there, and that hairpin is one probably. I don't know if you remember the Singapore slingshot chicane. If you're old enough to remember, that it actually got changed, I think, because it was that dangerous. It DNF'd a few drivers, as Trust Vilpex has had a look, but that door is going to get closed. But he's still pushing, as he is going to have another look. But nope, that door gets closed again, and he is going to have to back off a little bit and rethink that plan. The other battle is Bruno, XRT Bruno. He is around about 1 second behind Kart Racer. But yeah, as I said, LFRE in 5.7 seconds in front. That guy is literally an animal behind that car in the wets, and he's literally in full charge mode in the Mercedes, and potentially on for a second victory. Maybe, hopefully, there's no commentator's curse.
Yeah, and he's looking good in the championship. If he is able to keep it clean, doesn't make any mistakes, he'll have won both rounds so far, and that will give him a decent 50 points. I also think he has the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We can check now. No, Kart Racer was able to steal it from him just before they went to wet conditions, but only by 4/100ths of a second, so it was very close. But if Ian can hopefully get the full 50 points, and that would give him a very big boost in the championship, as none of the podium runners from last race are in super high up positions. Clark wasn't able to make it to this race, and IRT Indigo, he is in P5, but it doesn't look like he'll be getting any higher than that. So right now, LFR Ian is a little uncontested in these first 2 rounds, but I'm sure these drivers will be able to pick it up and start battling it out for that championship. Just have to give it a little bit of time. You can see Bruno is slowly but surely getting adjusted to these intermediate conditions, and starting to find some pace in that Williams. He's now 7/10 behind Kart Racer, who's 6.6 seconds behind LFR Ian. So this is the battle for P2, and probably not any more than that.
Yeah, I think, as you rightly so said, I think P1 kind of is out of reach at the moment, but that all depends if this rain does stop in the last 10 laps and dries up enough, because, as we mentioned before, it should be dry, rain, dry, as Trust Vilpex gets another penalty, and I believe he might be on 6 or 9. Nope, that's his first one, actually. So that's me wrong this evening. As yeah, it's looking like, oh, as I say that, somebody has gone for a spin. That's the other Haas. Luckily, he's not going to be overtaken by anyone. I don't think, as nobody's around him. He's kind of in a little bit of no man's land at the moment. But yeah, back up to the battle for P2. Kart Racer is kind of holding it there in P2, but Bruno is trying to snatch that P2 off of him. Neither driver has a penalty, so they can fight as much as they like, as this may bring Woolman back into it, as he is 3.9 seconds behind, and yeah, he is doing what the Ferrari strategists couldn't do yesterday, and yeah, they actually gave him the right tyre.
Thankfully not in the Ferrari, otherwise you might be on the full wet compound of tyres, but as you can see, he's just 3 tenths behind now. He's really found some pace. The rain has actually stopped, and we could even see a bit of a dry line emerging soon, as you can see, the tyre tracks of Kart Racer ahead of Bruno, digging into the track there and removing a bit of water from the racing line. But coming onto the straight now, it'll be interesting to see Bruno with around 90% ERS, Kart Racer with about 80, and neither of them using that overtake button. They're being very conservative, the two of them. LFR Ian is using plenty of his to extend his gap. He's got it all the way down to 30%. So the two drivers behind him really conserving their ERS, and Bruno is probably going to stick behind Kart Racer and just wait for a later stage to launch an attack, as these are the only two drivers on the grid who are really battling it out with each other at this stage. Everyone else is just trying to get the car home, pick up some good points for themselves, especially people like Wama, IRT Indigo. Olaf is under a little bit of pressure from his teammate Miguel. He's just 1.3 seconds behind. It looks like LFR Ian actually manages to get himself a 3-second time penalty. Right now that won't affect his finishing position, but he needs to keep it consistent. You can see the track is really starting to dry out now. The dry line really is starting to emerge. You can see the difference between the racing line and the rest of the track. So the dry tires could come at any point now, and maybe Kart Racer and Bruno are waiting for that phase, because the DRS is now enabled, and could we see a switch from LFR Ian?
Yeah, this will be interesting, because obviously, of course, we only got really 10, maybe 12 laps of the dry tyres. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Ian can fight his way back through the field, as he is going to get DRS down that back straight, as the Alfa Romeo is providing the 1 second gap there, which will be Bugatti, I believe. No, that's not Bugatti. Who is... oh no, that's Kart Racer. I thought I was watching Ian then, as nope, that is the Williams of Bruno. So Ian is into the pits. Is he going to get in and out? It should be. He is, as everyone is now making the pits back on to the soft. Kart Racer goes for the mediums. That's quite of a bold move, I guess, because there's still a little bit of rain on the track, a little bit damp still. Just wants that extra grip. Olaf going on for the mediums as well. The rest are on the softs. So we've got 3 on the mediums so far. Is Hilly and Bugatti going to do the same? They are. So it's mediums versus the softs.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The softs are probably going to be fast for 5 laps, but then they'll slowly die out. But is that enough? Are those 4 final laps going to be enough for the mediums to close the gaps to the softs? We'll have to see, 'cause it's a bit of a 50-50 split. I personally would have gone with the soft tyres. It's only 8 laps, that you have to do on those soft tyres. before the end of the race, and really they're not going to get too battered after just 8 laps. If you're stretching them to about 10 is when they really start to lose performance. But as you can see, this is going to help out Bruno a little bit in this early phase. He's just 1 second behind Kart Racer, and that gap is going to come down quite a bit because he is on those soft tires. But these drivers, we could see some mistakes now because they've gotten so used to the wet conditions. They've been racing on them for the last 10 or 12 laps, and now they have to readjust themselves to these dry conditions. And for this no assist here, none of these drivers running the racing line, it's very hard to adjust your braking points from dry to wet conditions or wet to dry conditions, and especially wet to dry, because you have to be so much more aggressive. You have to put a lot more faith in the car, whereas in the wet, you're just being so careful with it, making sure you don't spin, making sure you don't lock up. But as you can see, Bruno adjusting as quickly as he can. He's now 6 tenths on the back of Kart Racer, who is on those mediums. And even in dry conditions, LFR Ian has already gained about 1.5 seconds in the matter of just 1 lap. So he is doing quite nicely for himself out in P1, even with that 3-second time penalty. Shouldn't affect him too much in this race. But the DRS should be enabled on the... Or no, it already is enabled, sorry. And that's why everyone thought it was time for the dry tyres. Trust Vipex making the move on Olaf for P6 in this race, but with that 3-second time penalty, he's going to set him back a bit. Bruno looking for the move on this long back straight as we come into the final 3 turns. Kart Racer had a look down the inside. LFR Ian is able to snatch the fastest lap, so we could get the full 26 points here. We'll have to see if anyone else can beat that fastest lap. Bruno got the DRS on that back straight, isn't able to beat LFR Ian's lap, but he is now in P2. That is a yellow flag all the way back in P11. That's Ecos Hilly, who was spun in the Mickey Mouse section and over that sausage curb, which a lot of drivers seem to be struggling with in this Grand Prix. Right now, it looks like a few of the battles have actually fizzled out in the midfield, with a lot of drivers losing the DRS to each other. But Kart Racer is now just going to be looking to hang on to that DRS and wait for his mediums to be faster than the softs. Do you think they'll be able to come back in the short time we have left?
I think it's going to be a last lap dash. I really think that's going to be where they, kind of fall off near that area. I think what Kart Racer need to do now is just keep saving the ERS, just keep plugging away with the DRS. Don't, use all your party tricks, as they say, in the first few laps, because, you want to save it up. Save the ERS, and then when you're comfortable and you can make the overtake, just go full attack mode, because he will have the better tyre, the better life in the tyres, as well as Bruno is having to put that more extra pressure into the front left and right tyres, with obviously a lot of the corners, so his tyres are going to wear quite quickly. But yeah, it's all down to just management of the tyres now for Kart Racer, and just reel in Bruno back into the clutches of his car, which I'm sure he's doing, as he is now 5 or 6 tenths behind, as he's going to get DRS again, and he is not catching as much as I think he would like to, but yeah, it is around about 2 or 3 laps to go. No, 4 laps, should I say, as we are going to be coming on to 3 laps to go, which obviously will be on lap 26 of 29. So yeah, Kart Racer's got still a few more laps where he can save the ERS as they come down the back straight. I think he's not close enough this lap, or I might be mistaken, but he is going to close up that gap, and I don't think he's going to go for the move. Be a bit ambitious if he did, as you can just see one man in the background there coming down the back straight. And yeah, it's going to be a battle here for P2, and I really think this is probably going to be the only battle that we are going to see. As one of the McLarens has had a spin, and that is Trust Vilpex, who has had a spin, and that has promoted the 2 Aston Martins and 1 Haas up into 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, and as the battle for P2 rages on, so does the battle between the 2 Aston Martins. Miguel was able to make it past Olaf and moves himself up into P7, which now turns to P6 after that mistake from Trust Vipex, drops him all the way down to P9. And I don't think he'll be gaining any more positions from there. 8.3 seconds off the back of the Haas driver of Miku. Right now, only 11 drivers left in this race. You can see how much everyone was struggling. I think we had 3 pit lane retirements, and as you can see, 2 retirements in wet conditions as well. So it's been a struggle for a lot of drivers, and the second race in a row where we've had both dry and wet conditions. But we are now getting ready with LFR Ian to start lap 27, and there will just be 3 laps to go. So Kart Racer doesn't have that long for Bruno's tyres to wear out, but he is getting very close to the back of him on that back straight and coming into the braking zone. You can see almost every driver struggles with lockups coming into that turn 17. And it really hurts their rotation, as getting a lockup like that can really make you go straight on. But yeah, just 3 more laps to go, and by that time Bruno's tyres will be 8 laps old. So can Kart Racer possibly make the most of this medium rubber while it's faster than the softs? It'll be interesting to see, will he overtake him on this lap 28 or 29? When are the mediums finally going to come into play? Because he's been so patient here, just hanging on to the back of Bruno, biding his time and waiting for those tires to come into play. But yeah, as you can see, he gets very close on this straight, tries to fake out Bruno by looking to the inside. That actually makes Bruno go deep. He falls for it, and Kart Racer has a look at the outside line, decides to back out of that move and not going to commit to that. So right now, he is in P3. He'll be looking to get that P2 spot soon, but that was a good fake there from Kart Racer. Sadly, didn't work out for him, but patience is the main game for him, and not really too many battles going on behind that. It looks like Bugatti, who has had pretty much a terrible race this weekend, is now on the back of Trust Vipex, trying to gain an on-track position, but it won't mean much as he has a big lockup into there and locks up one of the rears, and that gives him a bit of a hassle. But as you can see, he has 6 seconds of penalties compared to Trust Vipex, so even if he does overtake him, he'll have to make up a 3-second gap in just 2 laps. So yeah, the main battle that we are focusing on is still the battle for P2, which is going to give you quite a few championship points. Kart Racer is definitely a good shout for the championship, so to get P2 in this race would help him out quite a bit. And I'm going to ride on board for this DRS tray. You can see he used a little bit of DRS on the exit of that turn, realized that Bruno used quite a bit of his and decided to turn it off quite early. But Bruno is now going to start pushing with the overtake button a bit more, so Kart Racer is really going to have to rely on the grip in his tires. But right now, with this pace that we're seeing from both of the drivers, you think this could now be possible from Kart Racer?
Yeah, it's looking like it can be possible, as he is now, I think, going to start pushing as them soft compound tyres are completely gone, I think, for the Williams driver of Bruno. As you can see, Kart Racer just had a little bit of a look, see if he could make the move. The move wasn't on for him. Then he's going to get DRS again, a second helping of it as they make their way down into turn 1. And who is going to get P2? It is going to be very interesting as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. And I believe it is going to be Kart Racer. He is literally now in full attack mode. He is using that ERS. He's going to have to be careful because he needs some of the ERS for the longer straights. He's saving. He knows that he's now saving that ERS, and as they come around the really long left-hander, he is literally pushing that car. He is literally on the diffuser now. He is going to go for the move. I think as he's now going to go down the straight, he's now going to get the DRS. He's going to use that ERS. He's going to go for it as Bruno is defending, but I think it is going to be game over as they go side by side into the deep corner. Oh, they push each other really deep into the corner. Car Racer is going to try and go around the outside, and it looks like Ian is now down the back straight, and that is Car Racer now up to P2, but has he done enough as Bruno is going to get the DRS back as I believe Ian is now coming through the final two corners and will take the checkered flag and take the provisional race win. And I think we can definitely clarify that Kart Racer is going to take P2, but LFR Ian has taken the race win with Carter Racer in P2 and Bruno finishing in P3. Top three gave us a fantastic race, and especially P2 and P3 gave us an exciting race finish.
Yeah, so LFR Ian comes across the line to win the second race in a row and the second round here at Miami. He's going to extend his championship lead against, a bit of an unknown rival. No one has really been up there with them, but Kart Racer manages to get that P2 with those medium compound tires, really picking up towards the end, overtakes Bruno, who will take that final spot on the podium. Wame comes P4, IRT Indigo in P5, the two Aston Martins P6 and 7, Miku in P8, Trust Vipex in P9, Ecos Hilly looks like with no front wing is going to come home in P10, and Bugatti, after making another mistake, is going to finish dead last, and he also has no front wing. So it's another bad weekend for Bugatti, but another great one for LFR Ian, and now has 51 points to his name in the championship, if I'm not mistaken, and really no rival that can compete against him. So doing very nicely for himself in this Formula 7 season, and as you can see, now coming out onto the podium now to celebrate his second victory in a row. It was a good performance there from Bruno, the reserve, to come P3 in this race. Could be a showing. Maybe he can get a full-time seat if one opens up for him. And then obviously Kart Racer coming P2. He looked very strong in Austria, and he's looked very strong once again here in Miami. But that is going to be the second round of this season 31. And I hope to see you all next week for round 3. And I'll have to check with you where that's actually going to be. But what I do here is the final classification. LFR Ian comes home in P1, 9.1 seconds ahead of the closest group of cars, which was Kart Racer and Bruno. Wama in P4 and IRT Indigo in P5. So that was a good race there. A bit of chaos on that race start, and managed to keep it quite clean in the wet, and it ended up with LFR Ian getting pole position, the fastest lap, and the race win. You really can't ask for more in a race weekend.
No, you certainly can't. And even though we had a little bit of rain and we didn't really have as many drivers as we would have liked to finish, it was definitely an enjoyable race to bring the action again here at Miami. And, I don't know where we're heading to next week, as I'm sure more games will inform us where we are heading for round number 3.
Yeah, we all hope to see you next week for round number 3, which is the Belgian Grand Prix. That is going to be an interesting one. And it'll also be interesting to see if the wet conditions are going to keep up. We've had a wet race for two rounds now, and could we go 3 for 3? We'll have to see next week. Once again on Monday at 8 o'clock BST here in the UK and Ireland. But yeah, obviously, I hope to see you all next week. And sorry for the difficulties there. Wasn't able to stream on the PSGL channel, so instead we're here on my own channel. But yeah, it's been fun commentating on this race. There was plenty of action to commentate. Went a little bit quiet there in the end, but a good race nonetheless. So goodbye, everyone.